Welcome to the Dental School Guide podcast, your ultimate destination for all things dentistry. I'm Dr. Tanner Townsend, your guide through the complex world of dental education. Join us as we uncover the secrets of acing dental school admissions, navigating residency programs, and exploring career opportunities. Please share and enjoy. Real quick, just wanted to make all you pre-dental students out there aware of a resource. If you've ever been worried about getting into dental school or are wanting to get into that school of your dreams, then you definitely want to check out a program called Dental School Guide. In the program, we walk you through how to save money, time, and heartache when applying to dental school. There's so much fluff out there when it comes to resources for getting into school, and we are streamlining all of that. With our comprehensive digital course, expert mentorship, and personalized application review services, you'll have everything you need to stand out to admission committees. Take advantage of this amazing resource that will help you increase your chances of getting into dental school. You'll want to check out dentalschoolguide.com. Check it out. Welcome back to the Dental School Guide podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Tanner Townsend. And today we have a unique guest that we haven't had on the show before. We've got Alex and Lofton, which are both the co-founders of Uni Shoes. Alex, Lofton, welcome. Nice to have you guys on the show.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks so much for having us.
Yeah, happy to be here.
We are super excited to have you guys on and just kind of hear a little bit more about the story behind Uni and the inspiration and how it's a unique healthcare shoe. Honestly, I mean, this is one of the shoes that I wear, and I've really enjoyed wearing the shoes. So I'm excited to have you guys on. So Alex, Lofton, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you guys from, and then what is kind of your origin story behind Uni?
Yeah, so my name's Lofton. I am a registered nurse and co-founder of Uni. I am currently in Los Angeles, California. And Alex?
I'm a registered nurse as well. I'm not currently working as a registered nurse anymore. I'm just full-time into Uni now. But I grew up outside of Boston and then moved in over to LA right out of school in order to be a nurse there. I worked at UCLA in the emergency room over there. Bounced around from a couple different nursing jobs after that, and now I am in Denver.
Nice. Well, that's awesome, guys. So you guys you're Lofton, you said you're in LA now, and then Alex, you're in Denver. Okay, very cool.
Yep.
That is great. So tell us a little bit, what's the origin story behind Uni? How did you guys come together to form this unique company?
Yeah, so Alex and I actually met in like 2016 when we were both picking up some shifts at like a infusion clinic. So they would do like vitamin infusions, B12 injections, things like that. So we worked like one shift together there. Alex like oriented me, and then I never ended up like going back and picking up any other shifts. And so Alex and I really never talked to each other after that. We kind of kept in touch a little bit, just over like social media and stuff. And then Alex and I both kind of went on our own journeys as far as like entrepreneurship went. I started a mobile coffee cart, I think it was like in 2018. And just kind of like, I was curious about business and I really like coffee. And so I was like, it'd be awesome to like open a coffee shop. So I was like, I'll start with like a mobile cart and then just kind of go from there. So I did that, really enjoyed it, but it was one of those things where it was like, okay, I learned a lot. It was fun, but I'm moving on to, different things. And so anyways, I ended up being in LA, moved to New York for a little bit. And Alex, I saw he can explain his own entrepreneurial journey, but I kind of saw what he was doing. And so I just kind of reached out to him. I was brainstorming ideas and trying to think of things like I could do. And so I reached out to him because he was into fitness and running and entrepreneurship, and he was a nurse. And so I was like, we have a lot of these similar interests. So I think, a partnership could be, really beneficial. And so I reached out to him just kind of like on social media and was like, hey, I want to build a business. I don't know what it is, but I want to build one. Do you want to like try to start one with me? And he was like, hell yeah, let's do it. So so that's kind of like how me and him started kind of like talking about what was next.
That's awesome. All right, Alex, let's hear your side of it.
Yeah, I mean, the great thing about nursing is your schedule. There's 3 12-hour shifts, so it leaves a large gap in your week to do other things. So a lot of the times I was traveling, but when I wasn't, and especially working in the ER, I have like a little bit of ADD, I guess, when I have a downtime. And so trying to fill it with something. And so I actually started a small little superfood company with one of my friends. We were just selling this stuff called sea moss, and selling it to like some local stores, and slinging stuff on Instagram. Um, but it was going really well. And then, like Lofton said, he just kind of hit me up and was like, "Hey, I feel like we're both doing nursing, but we kind of don't really want to do it, or we want to do something outside of that." He's like, "I don't know what we should do, but do you want to do something with me?" And I had only met him, for 4 hours one day, but I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not? Let's try it." And so we just started. He was in New York, I was in LA. Once a week or so, we would hop on the phone and just brainstorm ideas. We'd be texting each other back and forth. And we went through so many different, variations of ideas and things. And we were thinking about, we knew we wanted to do something sort of like healthcare related, because that's kind of where we both were comfortable at. But at the same time, we were both into health and fitness. He was trying to be like a health coach. I was trying to do like some health coaching stuff too. And so we're like, oh, maybe we should do something like health and fitness related. So we're talking about like these like different types of like pre-workouts or like electrolyte drinks, or something for that involved nurses too, like night shift nurses, things like that. And then we kind of just, I don't even remember how, but we sort of just landed on the idea of, like nursing shoes or medical shoes. Because I've always been like a huge shoe guy growing up.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with sneakers and stuff. And so in working in the hospital, I'm sure you guys know too, like the medical shoes are just horrific. They look disgusting.
Yeah,
Like it was
they're truly
either
disgusting.
they're so bad. Yeah. So it was like you have like your Dansko clogs, which like people swear by, and like I'm not dogging on those at all. I hear they're very comfortable, but I was like, I'm not wearing those. And there was no way I would wear those outside of the hospital either. So I know people swear by them, but I was like, Dansko's not for me. And then there wasn't really anything else. And so I would always wear like my Nikes, my running shoes to work. But then, I mean, at least working in an ER, you get like blood and urine and vomit and whatever like spilled on your shoes, and it's soaking through your mesh, getting in your socks for 12 hours. And we're like, man, this is just not good. Like, I don't know how there's not a better solution to this currently. And so we're like, let's just make our own.
Dang, that's super cool. Yeah, I remember when I was in dental school, we would go over to the hospital and go on rotations, and you'd like the oral surgeons, for some reason, oral surgery, the big thing was to wear like cowboy boots or Tacovas or something like that. And I was like, that sounds awful. Like that does not
Yeah.
sound comfortable at all. Like for like
No.
a 10-hour surgery, like I am not down for that.
Right.
And so, but I've noticed the same thing. Like the medical shoes are just, they're truly horrific. Like there's nothing in there that totally stands out. So I've noticed a couple things as I've worn your guys' shoe that's kind of differentiated you from other brands. Tell us, like specifically, as we're kind of getting into the design of the shoe now, what makes you guys kind of unique as a medical shoe, but also just kind of like a daily shoe as well?
Yeah, so we really wanted throughout the design, we knew from the beginning we needed that functionality. Like we knew we needed water resistance to repel fluids. We knew we needed it to be slip resistant, very comfortable for standing long hours. And that was one thing kind of with the design that we knew we needed to make in like when we compared them to running shoes. Because like a lot of nurses, doctors, dentists, everybody wears like running shoes is a big one. And those are great. Like they've got that super squishy midsole, and it's like you step into it and you're like, oh, that's squishy. Like that should be what I need. But really, running shoes are made for like running and propelling you forward, not necessarily standing in one place. Or in our profession, we do a lot of squatting, pushing, lifting, and with that squishy midsole, that's actually not good for you because if you're leaning to one side, you tip over, you can roll an ankle, it throws off your body alignment. So we're like, we need something that's going to be very comfortable, of course, for standing, but it's also got to have that stability so that when we do those job specific movements, it's going to take care of us and we're going to be able to avoid injury. We won't come home at night feeling sore or like our backs aching, things like that. So we we got with a shoe designer. We told them kind of what we needed, and we were able to come up with a midsole that was very comfortable, but it had that support as well. So even though it does have that cushion, it's also not going to compress too much and kind of throw off body alignment and keep us from doing those certain movements. So that was one of the big things as far as the design went that we knew we needed. And then we also found a fabric that was antimicrobial, extremely durable. So you could just wipe it off. That mesh usually on like a running shoe tears really easily. You have to buy, new shoes super frequently or it stings. So we needed something that was not going to stain, very durable. So we found the fabric, we got the midsole, and we kind of had that functionality in the shoe that we needed. But then from there, we felt like that's where a lot of like shoe companies kind of stop. They're like, okay, like we've got like the functionality, like fluid won't spill in it. And then, that's good. So we're like, we want to take it that next step and we want something that actually looks good.
That's great. Alex, do you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I think you pretty much nailed it. It was just like out there right now, there's definitely been a large insurgence of like other medical shoe companies in the past couple of years that have kind of popped up. And so all of them sort of have like the functionality needed. And when I was in nursing school, we had to wear these like all white plastic leather shoes because that's just what our nursing school required. And I hated that. I'm like still scarred from it. And so again, like they had the functionality, no doubt. Like there was no water getting in there, but they looked terrible. So we wanted to blend the functionality with like the fashion piece and create something that like you wanted to wear to work and you could wear outside of work too. So we would go to the gym before, after work, and it's like you don't want to have to like take your work shoes and your gym shoes and then you're like changing shoes. And so we wanted to like make one shoe that you can kind of wear anywhere with anything. You can wear it with scrubs, you can wear it to work, you can wear it to the gym, you can wear jeans out after work. And so we just wanted something that was like super versatile, but had everything you needed.
I love that. I've really noticed that myself actually, because before a few weeks back, my feet were really hurting. I think I've got some developing plantar fasciitis kind of going, especially in the right foot. And I was wearing these Pumas and they were just freaking tearing my feet up. And I noticed once I started wearing your guys' shoe, my feet started feeling better, which was, I noticed within the first couple days, which was awesome. But even yesterday, my assistant, she turned to me and she's like, man, those shoes are like cool. Like you can like wear those like anywhere. She's like, I dig those. Like, so it's just kind of a testament to that the shoe is truly a versatile shoe in terms of support and comfort, but also a fashion piece. So what's some of the other feedback as you guys have gotten a little bit further in your history as a company that you guys have gotten back from customers to help you continually grow like the shoe uni and help make it a better product for the future going forward?
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest things which has been super cool was that healthcare was like our main focus. We were like, both of us being nurses, we're like, we knew healthcare was where we wanted to focus. So as we started to put the shoes out there, market them, we noticed that because of the features, we get a lot of like food industry workers who would see the features and be like, oh, wow, that's great. So they started buying and giving us feedback, and we were getting great feedback. And one of the things we were getting, though, was that with oil and water on like a kitchen floor, they're like, we'd love for the slip resistance to be a little better for like oil and water. So we're like, okay, so let's go back to the drawing board. So we've kind of been working with our warehouse to kind of increase our slip resistance and make a new outsole. So that's one of the big ones that we're doing to kind of up that, and then that reaches into so many different industries. So that's one of the big ones that I can think of that we're doing for that.
And then obviously like comfort is king when it comes to any shoe. So it has to be comfortable. So we had a like a pretty good Ortholite is the name brand insole, and like the first one, which was great, and we got a lot of great feedback from it. But we did a little bit more research. That came out with like a higher quality insole recently, and so we decided to like include that in there. That has just a little bit more rebound to it, a little more comfort, and so our newer shoes have that in there too. because comfort is just, everybody wants their shoe to be comfortable no matter what. So
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah. And there's always, I mean, there's just little things like we added this new mesh on the inside that increased the like breathability a little bit, and we had like a memory foam ankle guard, but we wanted to make it a little bit more cushioned. So we've done like little tweaks here and there. We were actually extremely happy with how like our V1 shoe came out, because we listen to like podcasts of like startups and all that, and they'll be like, yeah, we got our first version out and it was a disaster and we had to like go back to the drawing board. And we're like, of course, like freaking out when we first launch, and then we get it and we're like, wow, this is actually like minor tweaks here and there, but the shoe as a whole is the same as when we started, which was a huge win for us.
Wow. I think that's really interesting to hear, that just even the minor tweaks of just like the mesh on the inside or the insole, just, I mean, those are all things that you guys have obviously going to learn as you kind of get further along in your journey, but also just as products get better as well.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I think stands out about you guys is you guys have made it really simple. Like you guys don't offer tons of different styles of shoes like Hoka or Danko or whatever. It's like a couple colors, there's lows and mids, and they all look good, and then you just leave it at that. Talk to me a little bit about the decision to kind of go with that and keep it a little bit simpler from your supply and demand side.
I mean, we're still a very new company. We've only been shipping shoes for about a year, and so obviously, I think we will have more models down the line. But for right now, what we have is like working really well, and we've had like some great feedback from it. But like Lofton said, we're making minor tweaks because we really want to make it like perfect before we move on to something else. So we have like this, or as close to perfect as it can be, but we really want to have this staple set of shoes, and we'll launch a couple new colors here and there, but we really want to nail this one first before we move on to something else. And beyond that too, it's just really expensive to launch a new shoe.
Yeah.
Like you have to create different molds for each size, and each one of those molds comes with a couple $1,000 price tag, and so you're paying anywhere from like 50 to 100K just for the molding of these shoes. And that doesn't even count like the actual production of the shoes. So that's just like the design of it. And so before we take that on, we really want to like just focus on this lane first. And then once we have sort of the capital to kind of go on and play and do some other things, we'll definitely do that.
Wow, that's great. I didn't realize how expensive that was, even just to get the one mold kind of locked in.
And so we have we have sizes from like women's 5 to men's 13 right now. So it's like 20 different sizes. So each one of those, like 5, 5.5, 6, 6.5, 7 is like anywhere between 2.5 to 5K.
Man, that's incredible. That's pricey. Goodness, I didn't know that. Jeez.
Yeah, we had no idea either. So
yeah, we didn't know either.
It was a healthy surprise.
We were like, oh, okay.
So yeah, like when you guys came to that roadblock, like what happened? I mean, were you guys like, oh shoot, like this is going to be more pricey than we thought? Like, how did that conversation go between the two of you?
Yeah, I think for us, it was just like the whole experience, especially in the, like we had some like business experience, but like from footwear, that standpoint, like we were like, let's make a shoe. Okay, how do we do it? I don't know. Let's Google, like, how do you make a shoe? So it's like, we were just learning constantly, like, as we came to each new, like, roadblock or, like, milestone. It's like, okay, what do we need to do next? Okay, this is what we need to do. And then you learn things like that, where it's like, okay, we got to make molds, and it's going to cost this much. And we're just like, okay. So, I mean, it's just constantly like adjusting and being like, okay, how are we going to fund this set of molds? And then how are we going to fund the inventory to then go out and sell? It's like a ton of money up front that you have to pay before you actually can even start selling. So those were just things we had to like, we've taken out some loans and, some credit cards, and you just have to learn that sort of stuff, like as you're on the move and going. And then luckily for us, it's worked out as we started selling product and, getting great feedback and all that. But yeah, it's definitely one of those that like kind of slaps you in the face and you're like, oh, okay, well, let's figure out how this is going to work.
Dang. Man, I understand that perspective, but the cost on your guys is pretty intense. That kind of transitions us a little bit to the entrepreneurship side of things. I think with our audience, a lot of our audience is pre-dental students and dental students. And so helping those kind of students recognize there are other things outside there of dentistry and medicine, including entrepreneurship. So you kind of alluded, Lofton and Alex, a little bit to how you guys transitioned that way and learned about the shoe industry. But what were some of the other challenges that you guys faced along that entrepreneurship journey? In terms of just learning about shoes, you said you Googled a lot. What are some of the other things that you guys had to do in order to gain the knowledge, even to start?
Honestly, I think just being naive and having a little bit of like that YOLO mentality and
Yeah.
just kind of going for it and being maybe like a little bit stupid, a little bit reckless is we wouldn't be here if it was that. If we were thinking about, every step like way ahead of time, there was no way we would have started this, because on paper it looks so stupid, and it looks, yeah, like we would never be where we're at if we were thinking about it ahead of time. And so I think, I mean, with like students in school and things like that, it's like such a long road, and that's where we're on too. Like, we can't be thinking about like 10 years from now and just like wanting to be there, and like the journey is going to take you so many different ways. And so I think just focusing on like where you're at right now, what you can do right now to kind of start and get yourself there, has been huge, because life is going to take you so many different turns. And Lofton and I are both big like ultra marathon runners too, so it's like we'll do these 100-mile races, and it's like you can't be thinking about mile 100 when you're at mile 2, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you got to break it down in these like little chunks, and you got to get to this spot, you got to get to this like little aid station before you get to the next one. And so that's been my biggest thing, is just like not being overwhelmed by like the dauntingness of like building a business or going to dental school or going to med school or anything like that. Like, you got to just take it in small little chunks and handle it that way. And then by the time you know it, like, you're at the finish line.
Yeah. And I think that's, like Alex said, it's like you reach these, like, you set these goals and you reach these certain spots where it's like, okay, this is what we need to get done now in order to move forward. And then it's like, well, if we don't know how to do that, I know Alex and I, we either a lot of research or we find somebody who had been in it and has done it, maybe not footwear necessarily, but like in the entrepreneurial space, where it's like even registering a business and things like that. It's just you find somebody who knows what to do and ask, and then they tell you, or you go research it, look it up. Like, How I Built This podcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that. I mean, I listened to like every single one of those episodes, like when we were first starting out, just because like it's so great listening to other entrepreneurs' stories and how like they would reach these milestones and something catastrophic would happen. But of course, you take care of it, you do what you need to do, and then you move on, and they built these amazing, successful businesses. So yeah, taking it in chunks, and then just, if you don't know the answer, go and find somebody who does, or you can look it up. The resources out there for information these days is just insane. So definitely able to utilize those.
Yeah, I think that's seriously one of the biggest things, is just taking it in chunks and not biting off the end before you really even start. I think,
for sure.
I think so many people, even in entrepreneurship, I don't know if you guys listen to like Alex Hormozy or not at all. I really like him. I know he's a gym guy. Alex is nodding his head. So but I kind of like some of the things that he's said in the past, of just, the people in entrepreneurship that last the longest are the ones that just stick with it. And I think you guys probably really understand that from an ultra marathon perspective. Kudos to you guys. I could never run 100 miles in my life, but just making the people that stick with it the longest are usually the ones that end up on top. And I think that's a key aspect for entrepreneurship for sure. So how did that transition go, going from healthcare to entrepreneurship? So Alex, you're no longer doing nursing full time. Lofton, you'll have to tell us what your situation is on that. But how did you guys decide to make that transition to full-time entrepreneurship, or going more all in on that?
Yeah. So for me right now, I'm like 2 days a week working at the hospital. I work in an outpatient surgery. So it's like 8-hour shifts. So I'm about 2 days a week there, and then the rest of the time, just focused on the business. So just to pay the bills. So it's been a challenge for us. I mean, because at first, like, everything you make just goes right back into the business. It's like, oh, great, we're selling shoes, but we've got another inventory order we need to put in. And so it's just like you're constantly looking at what that next thing is. So yeah, it's the transition is definitely hard because I mean, as nurses, we make pretty good money, like, working, especially if you're working full time. And, so it's kind of hard making that transition because you're going from making pretty good money to like, oh, wow, I feel like I'm back in college doing like a little startup, like, buying, rice and beans or whatever. So it's like that kind of is challenging to get that mindset back to this kind of like scrappy, like, okay, we got to do what we need to do in order to grow. So yeah, that's kind of where I've been, and it's been fun though, because it's like slowly more and more I work per diem at the job I'm at now, so I've been able to kind of like let them know what I'm doing and cut back my hours slowly. And so yeah, I started out 5 days a week I'd be working at the hospital, and then before work and after work I'm doing business stuff, and then now I'm keep cutting slowly back, and hopefully by the end of the year I'll be completely full-time into uni.
Alex, what's your perspective on that?
It's definitely a grind for sure. But I always have my nursing license. I'll always keep that up, and so there's always nurses needed. So I always feel like I have that sort of backup option if things don't work out. But I didn't want to have any regrets about anything. I thought, hey, this is a really cool thing we got going on. Let me just give it my all. And one thing I wanted to do was kind of like make myself like a little uncomfortable too. So by kind of stepping away and like kind of giving me like a kick in the butt of like, hey, you got to figure this out or else you're gonna be broke.
Yeah.
And so not having like my feet in this place and kind of having like that safety net, and kind of just going for it and just jumping all into it. I feel like that would give me the best chance of success for me, at least. I know people work differently, so maybe you need to have that little safety net. That's fine. But I knew for myself, I needed to dive in head first, in order to make it work. And so, yeah, I mean, it's definitely been a grind. It's been fun. It's been a roller coaster. Like, entrepreneurship is a lot of work with not a lot of reward. There's definitely like super high days, but then there's a lot of like really low days.
Yeah.
And so it's just like just going with it, just riding each wave, and just knowing that you're doing like I'm working for myself, which is amazing. And so everything I'm doing, it's for me. It's not for somebody else. So I don't technically need to do any of this, but like I want to do it. So it's very different than working for somebody else's dream.
Mm-hmm. So what advice do you guys have for either some of our listeners that are pre-dental students or dental students that are eventually, they're kind of in the beginning of their journey still for the most part, but are either have an entrepreneurial mind or are looking eventually to transition out of dentistry and more into an entrepreneurial space?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is always like, if you have that idea, or you are kind of on the edge of like, okay, this is kind of, I know I want to do this, but like it's hard making that transition. The transition is super hard. I would say just start somewhere, because if you just sit on an idea, or you're wanting to make a transition, and you just like think about it and talk about it, it's like, oh, that'd be great. But like, if you don't take that first step, then you'll just keep thinking and doing the same thing. Like, I did that with so many ideas before me and Alex started talking, where I'd be like, man, that's a good idea. Like, somebody should do that. And then, you just sit there and nothing happens.
Yeah.
So making that first step. And then also I'd say from an entrepreneurial standpoint, if you're wanting to go do something, I always say, like, find a co-founder or somebody to do it with you, because if you have somebody to do it with you, it motivates you. You both can do different things. You can brainstorm, bounce ideas off each other, and it really helps you get going and stay focused and move on to that next step if you have somebody with you than if you're just doing it on your own.
Nice.
Yeah, and I would say at least I'm not exactly sure how it is with dentistry, but at least I know in the medical field, like it's easy to get burnt out. It's easy to get overworked. It's easy. There's always overtime. There's always a ton of shifts. Like those aren't going anywhere. But I always wanted to have like a little something on the side that like gave me a little relief from, the medical field, because then you can kind of fill your own cup and then be able to, perform your best at work. And so maybe that thing turns into something lucrative, some lucrative business. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a passion. But either way, I would say that you should take time to like do that thing that you want to do on the side, and then if it becomes something, that's incredible. But like Lofton said, just start it too. Like it's never going to be perfect. Like we had no idea what we were doing, but we just kind of like pushed the ball, got it rolling, and then like chased it down the hill. Like we're figuring everything out as we're going right now, but you got to get it going, or else it's never going to
Yeah, I feel you there. Well, what's next for Uni, guys? What's the next thing on the horizon over the next, in terms of products, or just over the next couple of years, or the next year? What are your guys' goals? Where do you guys see Uni kind of going?
Yeah, so we've got a couple design ideas that are in the pipeline that we're going to start working on. So hoping to release a new shoe here probably in the next year or so. That's kind of the goal. So we're in the process of designing that, and then we've got some new colorways that we're going to release as well here in the next, probably the end to beginning of next year. So new colorways, we've got a few like secondary products that we're going to release. So they're not finalized yet, so I'm not going to say exactly what, but we've got a lot of, we actually, it's funny you ask, because like we literally this week did a bunch of like planning, like road mapping, and we've got a lot of stuff coming down the line that we're super excited about. And so yeah, we're excited to see what the next couple of years bring, but definitely just, I mean, growth. We want to build this community is our biggest thing. Like we don't want to just sell shoes or sell products. We really have a heart for the healthcare community, because that's what we've been in for our whole working like careers since we graduated. Like we've been in this community. We wanted to provide these shoes not just to like fill a need in a market, but we know the people, our coworkers, our friends, family who work in this industry. Like we wanted to provide this for them, and we want to keep providing products and making our shoes better and providing new shoes that they can wear to work or out, to the gym, to dinner, just like this well-rounded shoe, and be comfortable and enjoy how they look. And that's kind of our biggest goal right now.
And reaching just a wider range of people too, because there's so many different industries that can really like benefit from shoes like this. So it's not like just nurses, it's not just like dental hygienists, like it's the doctors, it's EMTs, it's firemen, it's the police, it's factory workers, it's people who are on their feet all day, and which is awesome, because we've seen a lot of great feedback from people in all these little different side areas that are like, hey, I tried your shoes and they're great for work. So we really just want to like provide the best footwear to as many people as we can that can really benefit from it.
Yeah, I've seriously, like I said in the beginning, I've really loved your guys' shoes so far. So I think you guys have something special cooking here, which is awesome. So how our listeners, I hope they're kind of interested in this, because I was really interested once we had you guys coming on the podcast today. But how do listeners find you? How do they purchase a set of shoes? If they want a set of shoes or just check out your colorways, how do they go about doing that?
Yeah, so we're on social media. So wear.uni, UNI. That's our TikTok, Instagram. Also, our website's www.uni.shoes, uni.shoes. So that's where you can find us. And we've got all our shoes on our Instagram and TikTok, and also on our website.
Awesome. Well, we'll also put your guys' link in the show description. That way people can find you and take a look at what you guys got going on. So, well, that's all we've got for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. Alex, Lofton, thank you guys so much for coming on. It's been awesome chatting with you guys.
For sure. Yeah, thank you so much for having us.
Thank
you. It's been awesome.
You bet. All right, that is it for today's episode. We'll catch you later.
That's all for today's episode of the Dental School Guide podcast. We hope you've gained valuable insights and inspiration to fuel your journey into dentistry. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast for more expert advice, inside tips, and engaging discussions. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review. It would mean the world to us. Until next time, keep smiling, keep striving, and remember, your dental dreams are closer than you think. Thanks for tuning in to the Dental School Guide podcast.